The first time Keanu Reeves and Ana de Armas stood together on a film set, no one could have predicted the profound connection that would develop. Here were two admired and respected actors, each with their own robust careers, yet unseen on that initial morning was how a simple conversation would spark a bond extending far beyond the realms of cameras and scripts. Keanu arrived early, maintaining that calm, serene aura he was known for. Unhurried, he moved across the set, offering a gentle smile to the crew. Never acting the star, he garnered respect not by demanding it, but by quietly acknowledging those around him. Ana noticed this immediately. She was accustomed to actors who radiated pride, who sought to be the center of attention. Keanu was different. He personally greeted the lighting crew, thanked the makeup team, and even offered to help carry equipment. Ana, meanwhile, was filled with nerves. This role was significant for her, a chance to prove herself alongside a legendary figure like Keanu. She clung to her script, repeating her lines to steady her trembling hands. When she finally glanced up, Keanu was standing nearby. He didn't interrupt her focus. Instead, he offered a gentle smile and said, "You know, the best part of acting is forgetting the fear." Simple words, yet they resonated deeply within her. She chuckled softly, replying, "Easy for you to say. You've been doing this for decades." Keanu shook his head. "Fear never leaves you. You just learn how to stand alongside it. Sometimes it's fear that makes a performance genuine." This marked the beginning of something far more profound than a mere working relationship. Ana felt a liberation in his words, a permission to embrace vulnerability. For the first time that day, she breathed deeply, allowing calm to seep in. As filming began, an unexpected energy permeated their scenes. Even the director whispered to his assistant about the authenticity between them. It seemed their souls found harmony even before their characters could speak. However, the journey wasn't without challenges. In the early weeks, Ana faced criticism. Online whispers questioned her right to share the screen with someone like Keanu. Late at night, she would pore over these comments, each one chipping away at her confidence. One evening, thinking she was alone, she lingered on the studio steps, eyes red from unshed tears. Keanu, on his way out with his motorcycle helmet, stopped when he saw her. He sat down quietly, allowing the silence to stretch comfortably between them. Eventually, he asked, "What troubles you tonight?" Ana hesitated briefly before revealing her fears of judgment and inadequacy. Keanu listened attentively, offering a simple reassurance when she finished. "You are enough. You don't need anyone's permission to shine." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. Yet those words fell like a pebble onto still water, sending ripples through her heart. From that day forward, their bond grew, an unspoken synergy felt by the crew. They shared quiet glances, respectful gestures, and moments of genuine support. It transcended romance, becoming something much rarer, a deep, mutual respect and support amidst the pressures of fame and judgment. Despite the challenges, they upheld each other. During an intense scene, Ana froze, her mind blank, lines forgotten. The camera kept rolling, silence hung heavy, and embarrassment reddened her face. Before judgment could fall, Keanu stepped in, ad-libbing his way through, transforming the error into a natural part of the scene. The director loved the spontaneity, preserving the take. Afterward, Ana murmured, "Thank you," and Keanu simply nodded, conveying, "We're in this together." Their story was one of resilience and quiet strength, marked not by grand gestures, but by small, consistent acts of kindness that built an unshakable bridge between them. As weeks became months, Ana grew stronger, more assured of her place. She stopped reading comments, stopped questioning her worth. Not because Keanu rescued her, but because he reminded her that she was capable of saving herself. Yet the most unexpected challenge was still to come, a true test of their remarkable friendship. It would arise when Keanu faced his own struggles, showing once more how their connection could endure the unforeseen trials of fame and fortune. The film set grew more demanding as the schedule tightened. Long nights, heavy scripts, and the weight of expectation pressed on everyone. Ana had found her rhythm, thanks to the quiet confidence she had built from Keanu's support. But now, something shifted. Keanu, who had always seemed unshakable, began to carry a different silence. He still greeted the crew, still smiled gently at people, but his eyes carried a heaviness that Ana could not ignore. It was not the exhaustion of work. It was something deeper. One evening, after a long action sequence, Ana noticed Keanu sitting alone in a corner of the studio. The crew had gone home, but he stayed, staring at the floor, his helmet beside him. His shoulders looked heavier than ever before. She hesitated, not wanting to intrude. But then she remembered the night he had sat with her when she was broken, and she walked over quietly. "Are you all right?" she asked softly. Keanu raised his head, surprised by her presence. He gave a small smile, but it did not reach his eyes. "I'm fine," he said, the kind of answer people give when they are anything but fine. Ana sat down beside him, refusing to leave. "You always tell me not to hide the fear," she whispered. "So don't hide yours." There was a long pause. Keanu's hands tightened around his helmet. Finally, he said, "Sometimes the past comes back, and it feels louder than the present." Ana listened, her heart heavy. She knew of his struggles, the losses he had endured, the pain that shaped him. The world admired him for his humility, but few understood how much of that humility was born from surviving grief. "Does it ever get easier?" Ana asked. Keanu shook his head gently. "You learn to live with it. But there are days when it feels closer than ever. Days when you wonder if the strength you give others leaves you empty inside." Ana felt tears sting her eyes. She realized something important in that moment. All the strength he had given her had cost him energy he sometimes could not spare, yet he gave it anyway. "Then let me be the one to remind you," she said firmly. "You are enough. You don't have to carry everything alone." Keanu looked at her, and for the first time his smile carried a spark of relief. It was not joy, not escape, but recognition. That someone had seen the weight he carried and had chosen not to walk away. From that night, their friendship deepened into a balance. Before, it had been Keanu guiding Ana. Now she began guiding him too. On days when he grew quiet, she told him jokes. On mornings when he arrived early, she brought him coffee. On set, when he pushed himself too hard, she reminded him to pause, to breathe, to rest. The crew noticed this change. Whispers spread that the bond between them felt stronger than any script could create. People said the scenes they shared held a kind of truth that could not be rehearsed. The director even told them one afternoon, "You don't act together. You live together on screen. That's what makes it real." But the true test of their connection came during a moment no one expected. Weeks later, the studio arranged a press event. It was meant to be simple: interviews, photos, polite answers for the media. But one reporter asked a cruel question. He looked at Ana and said, "Do you think you deserve this role? Or do you think people only notice you because you stand beside Keanu Reeves?" The room froze. Ana felt her chest tighten. It was her greatest fear spoken aloud, in front of flashing cameras. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Before she could speak, Keanu leaned forward, his voice calm but sharp with truth. "Ana is not here because of me," he said. "She is here because she is brilliant, because she works harder than anyone I know, and because she has earned every moment with her own strength. If you cannot see that, then maybe you do not deserve to ask questions." The room fell silent. The reporter shifted uncomfortably. and for the first time in weeks, Ana felt no fear. Instead, she felt protected, respected, and truly seen. After the event, she pulled Keanu aside. "You didn't have to do that," she said. Keanu shook his head. "Yes, I did. Sometimes silence is kindness, but sometimes kindness is standing up when the world tries to push someone down." Ana knew she would never forget those words. What had started as a working relationship had grown into something far deeper. They were no longer just actors sharing scenes. They were two human beings carrying each other through storms most people never saw. And yet, as the film neared its end, a new challenge appeared, one that would not come from critics or cameras, but from within their own choices. As filming moved toward its final weeks, the weight of goodbye began to circle silently around the set. Everyone could feel it. Projects end, crews scatter, actors move on to new scripts, new locations, new lives. But for Keanu and Ana, the thought of parting after months of building something so rare brought a quiet ache neither of them could fully name. Still, they pushed forward, giving everything to the last scenes. One evening, after a long emotional sequence, the director called cut and the studio erupted with applause. It was the kind of applause that felt genuine, not polite. The crew knew they had witnessed something special. Yet, when the lights dimmed and the set grew quiet, Ana felt a sudden fear. What if this was the last time she would stand beside Keanu like this? What if their bond belonged only to the space of this film and would fade once cameras stopped rolling? Later that night, she found herself walking outside the studio, the city lights flickering against the dark sky. Keanu was there, leaning against his motorcycle, his helmet resting on the seat. He looked calm, but his eyes carried the same question her heart whispered. "When this ends," she asked gently, "do we end too?" Keanu looked at her, his silence stretching between them. Then he shook his head. "No, stories end, but friendships don't have to." The simplicity of his words calmed her, but deep down, she still wondered if life's chaos would pull them apart. The very next week, her fear was tested. Ana received an offer, another film, in another country, with a demanding schedule. It was the kind of role that could push her career forward, but it meant leaving immediately after their project wrapped. No rest, no time, just a flight across the ocean. She told Keanu about it one evening, her voice trembling. "I don't know what to do. It's an incredible opportunity, but I feel like I'm running away from everything we built here." Keanu listened carefully, then said, "You're not running away. You're growing. Don't let fear make you doubt your own steps." "But what if we lose this?" she asked quietly. Keanu gave a small smile. "If something is real, it doesn't vanish when distance comes. If it's real, it travels with you." His words struck her deeply. And yet, she still struggled. When the final day of filming arrived, emotions hit harder than she expected. As the director shouted, "That's a wrap!" the set filled with clapping and laughter. But for Ana, it felt like the sound of a door closing. The cast and crew hugged, took photos, promised to meet again. Keanu, as always, stayed quiet, moving slowly through the crowd, thanking each person with genuine care. When he reached Ana, the moment stretched. "You changed the way I see this work," Ana admitted softly. "Not just as acting, but as living." Keanu nodded. "And you reminded me that strength doesn't mean silence. It means sharing the weight." She felt her eyes burn with tears, but she smiled through them. "Promise me this isn't the end." Keanu looked at her with the same steady calm he always carried. "Friendship doesn't need promises. It needs presence. And I'll always be here when you need me." With that, they parted. Ana boarded a flight days later, her heart torn between excitement for what lay ahead and the hollow ache of distance. But what neither of them knew was that their bond was about to face its most powerful test yet. Because life outside the set was not scripted, it was unpredictable, and it would soon throw them into storms neither could prepare for. For Ana, it came as loneliness in a city far away, where fame felt cold and faces felt false. For Keanu, it came as an unexpected challenge that would pull him into a struggle more personal than any role he had played. And when those storms collided, their friendship would be forced to prove whether it was only born of circumstance, or whether it could survive the weight of real life. Ana's new film began shooting in Europe, far from the familiar comfort she had built with Keanu. At first, everything looked exciting. New city lights, new faces, and new opportunities. But quickly, the shine wore off. The set was cold, not just in weather but in spirit. The cast barely spoke outside of scenes. The crew rushed through work without warmth, and at night, when Ana returned to her hotel, silence pressed against her like heavy air. She tried to distract herself with long walks, coffee shops, and phone calls home. But what she missed most was the quiet presence of Keanu. He was not the type to call often, but when he did, it was never about small talk. His voice carried a calmness that reminded her she was not alone, even across an ocean. Still, one night, after a long day of harsh criticism from her new director, Ana broke down. She sat by the hotel window, staring at the glowing city below, tears rolling silently down her face. She picked up her phone, hesitated, then sent a short message. "Are you awake?" Minutes later, her screen lit up with his reply. "Always for you." She told him everything. The way she felt unwelcome, the fear that she was losing herself again, the pressure that made her doubt every step. Keanu listened, just like he always did, never rushing her words. Then he said something simple, something that anchored her again. "The place doesn't make you belong. You make yourself belong." Those words carried her through the next few weeks. She found her strength again, stood taller on set, and pushed through the cold walls around her. And slowly, people began to notice her resilience. But while Ana was building her strength overseas, Keanu faced a storm of his own back home. One morning, a news headline spread quickly across entertainment outlets. Keanu had suffered an injury during a stunt rehearsal. Though it was not life-threatening, it was serious enough to keep him off work for weeks. Ana saw the headline while scrolling through her phone. Her heart dropped. Without thinking, she called him immediately. When he answered, his voice was calm, but weaker than usual. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, tears already building. "Because I didn't want you to worry," he said gently. "I'm already worried," she replied firmly. "You always carry others, but who carries you?" Keanu laughed softly, though it was tired. "Maybe you do." Those words stayed with her all night. She realized then that their bond was no longer about one guiding the other. It was about balance, about being strong for each other in turns. A week later, when her schedule allowed, Ana booked a quiet flight back, unannounced. She arrived at Keanu's home, where he sat on his porch with a book in his hand and his leg carefully supported. The surprise on his face when he saw her was worth everything. "You shouldn't be here," he said softly, though his eyes shone with gratitude. "And you shouldn't face this alone," she answered. She spent days by his side, helping with simple things, cooking meals, keeping him company. But more than anything, she brought warmth into his quiet house. They laughed, they talked, and sometimes they simply sat in silence. And in that silence, there was peace. The world outside speculated endlessly about their friendship. Tabloids painted stories, fans created rumors, and questions filled the air about whether it was more than friendship. But to Keanu and Ana, none of that mattered. What they had was real, not built on gossip, not built on romance, but built on kindness, respect, and a loyalty that most people only dream of. Yet even as they found strength in each other, the world around them was not finished with its tests. Because fame never rests, and whispers of pressure and expectation were already building toward a moment that would shake the very foundation of their bond. The quiet weeks they shared together brought a rare calm, but calm in their world never lasted long. Keanu was healing, taking slow steps back to strength, while Ana was finding her center again. But as the world outside their doors grew louder, both of them realized their bond was about to be tested in ways far beyond private moments. The film they had made together was ready to release. The studio poured energy into the promotion, and with that came interviews, red carpets, flashing lights, and endless questions. For most actors, it was part of the job. But for Keanu and Ana, it became something heavier, because every question, every headline, seemed less about the film and more about them. During one press interview, a reporter leaned forward with a smirk and asked, "People are saying your connection feels too real to be just friendship. What do you have to say to that?" Ana froze. She hated how easily people reduced their bond to gossip, as if friendship could not be powerful on its own. She looked at Keanu, unsure how to answer. Keanu, calm as always, replied with steady eyes, "Respect is rare in this world. Kindness is rarer. What we share is both. You don't need to name it anything else." The room went silent. His answer was simple, but it cut through the noise like a blade. Ana felt tears sting her eyes, not of sadness, but of gratitude. Still, the pressure didn't stop. Articles appeared daily, twisting their words, questioning their choices, building false stories for clicks. Ana struggled with it more than she wanted to admit. She felt her private world shrinking, every step watched, every smile photographed, every silence misread. One night, after a long day of press, she sat in her hotel room, scrolling through endless headlines. Her chest felt tight, her breathing shallow. Just as the tears began to fall, there was a knock at her door. She opened it to find Keanu standing there with that same gentle calm, holding 2 cups of tea. "You didn't have to come," she whispered, her voice shaky. "I know," he replied softly, "but I thought you shouldn't sit alone with the noise." They sat together on the floor, sipping tea in silence. After a while, Keanu spoke. "The world will always write its own story about us. But the truth belongs only to us." Ana looked at him, realizing that he was right. They could not control the voices outside, but they could control how they carried each other inside the storm. Still, the storm grew louder. At the premiere night, when the red carpet lights burned like fire, cameras flashed in every direction. Reporters shouted questions, fans screamed their names, and the noise was overwhelming. Ana felt dizzy, her steps faltering. Then she felt it. Keanu's hand, steady on her arm, guiding her calmly through the chaos. He didn't pull her forward. He simply walked beside her, his quiet presence enough to give her balance. Together, they moved through the crowd, unshaken, unbroken. Later, during the screening, as the audience watched their film in silence, Ana found herself watching Keanu instead. His face glowed in the dim light, calm as ever, yet she knew how much strength it took for him to carry himself that way. She thought of the nights he had listened to her fears, the afternoons she had sat with him in his pain, the moments they had carried each other when the world tried to push them down. When the credits rolled, the audience erupted in applause. But for Ana, the true moment of triumph was quieter, the knowledge that she was not alone in any of this. Yet just when it seemed they had found their balance in the storm, another twist appeared. An unexpected call came, one that would force both of them to make a choice. For Keanu, it was an offer for a deeply personal project, one that would take him far away. For Ana, it was a decision about whether to step into another demanding role or step back to find herself again. Both choices meant distance. Both choices meant risk. And as they faced the possibility of walking separate paths again, the question returned. Could their bond survive distance, pressure, and the unending noise of fame? The answer would come, but only through a trial that neither of them had seen coming. The phone call that changed everything came late at night. Keanu had been offered a role unlike any he had taken before, a story about loss, grief, and rebuilding. It was a role that spoke to his own heart, a mirror of the life he had quietly carried for years. But the film would shoot across the world, on a schedule that would take months of his time and all of his focus. Ana, on the other hand, was offered a chance to lead a film in Hollywood, a role that could cement her place as one of the brightest stars of her generation. But it demanded constant presence in Los Angeles, with no space for breaks or travel. When they met to talk about it, the weight of their choices sat heavily between them. "If you take this role," Ana said softly, "you'll be gone for months." Keanu nodded. "And if you take yours, you'll be here, locked in the noise." They both fell silent, sipping tea at his kitchen table. The air was thick with unspoken fear, the fear that distance might weaken what they had built. Finally, Ana broke the silence. "What if the world pulls us apart?" Keanu looked at her calmly. "Then we hold tighter." It sounded simple, but living it would be harder than either of them could imagine. Weeks later, the distance became real. Keanu was gone, waking up in different time zones, filming in remote places where phone signals were weak. Ana stayed in Los Angeles, her days filled with rehearsals, press interviews, and the endless flashing lights of cameras. At first, they stayed in touch. Late-night calls, quick messages, stolen moments of laughter across screens. But as weeks turned into months, the calls grew fewer. Not because they forgot, but because life was heavy. Keanu's role demanded every ounce of his energy. Anna's schedule left her drained. One night, Ana sat alone in her apartment, staring at her phone. She typed a message to Keanu. "I feel like I'm losing you." Then she stared at it, unable to send. At the same time, thousands of miles away, Keanu sat in his small rented room after a long day of filming. He picked up his phone, opened their chat, and typed, "Are we drifting?" Then he too hesitated, deleting the words before they could reach her. Both of them carried the same fear, yet neither spoke it aloud. Then, the breaking point came. During a major press event for her film, Ana was asked a cruel question by a reporter. "Now that Keanu Reeves is away, do you think people will still care about you?" Ana froze. The old fear returned, sharp and heavy. But instead of answering with doubt, she looked directly at the reporter and said firmly, "I care about me. That's enough." The room fell silent. After the event, she went home, her hands shaking. She wanted to call Keanu, to hear his voice, to tell him how she had finally stood tall. But when she dialed his number, it went straight to voicemail. On the other side of the world, Keanu was filming an intense scene. He fell, hit the ground harder than planned, and the set rushed to him. Though he assured everyone he was fine, the truth was clear. He was pushing himself beyond his limits, carrying both the weight of the role and the silence of distance from the one person who understood him most. Days later, Ana finally reached him. His voice was tired, almost broken. "You don't have to prove anything to anyone," she told him softly. "Not even to yourself. Just be human. Just be Keanu." For a moment, there was silence on the line. Then he whispered, "And you? Just be Ana. The world doesn't get to define you." The call ended, but something shifted. They both realized that distance had not broken them. It had only revealed how much they mattered to each other. And yet the biggest test was still ahead. Because as the films released, as their names filled headlines again, a decision waited. Whether to keep walking separate paths, or to finally choose a way to walk forward together. Months passed, and the world saw both of their films released almost side by side. Critics praised Keanu's performance, calling it one of the most raw and human roles of his career. They praised Ana as well, celebrating her strength, her depth, and the way she carried an entire story on her shoulders. From the outside, both had triumphed. But inside, both of them carried the same quiet question. What would come next? And would they still belong in each other's lives? The answer came on a night when neither expected it. Keanu returned to Los Angeles quietly, without announcing his arrival. He wanted no cameras, no reporters, no noise. He only wanted to see if the bond he and Ana had built could survive the storms of distance and time. Ana, that same evening, had finished a long day of interviews. She was tired, drained, her voice hoarse from answering questions about fame, success, and image. As she walked back to her apartment, she found someone waiting by the steps. Keanu, standing under the soft glow of a street lamp, holding nothing but his helmet in his hand. She froze, her breath catching. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. But then he smiled, the same calm smile that had greeted her on their very first day together. "You didn't tell me you were back," she whispered. "I didn't want to tell the world," he answered gently. "I only wanted to tell you." She walked toward him, her eyes filling with tears. Months of silence, distance, and fear seemed to dissolve in that single moment. Inside her apartment, they sat together in the quiet. No cameras, no scripts, no rehearsals, just two people who had walked through storms and found their way back. "I thought we were drifting apart," Ana admitted softly. "So did I," Keanu replied. "But maybe we weren't drifting. Maybe we were just learning how far we could stretch without breaking." Ana laughed through her tears. "So, did we break?" Keanu shook his head. "No. We bent. And we came back." For a long time, they sat in silence, letting the weight of the moment rest between them. Then Ana said something she had never dared before. "You know, people will always try to name what this is. They'll call it friendship. They'll call it something else. They'll try to turn it into a story that belongs to them." Keanu looked at her calmly. "Let them. The truth belongs only to us." It was not a grand declaration. It was not romance written for the cameras. It was something far more rare, a friendship so strong, so rooted in kindness, humility, and respect, that it could not be broken by distance, by fame, or by the noise of the world. Over the years, their bond continued quietly, without needing headlines to prove its worth. They supported each other through films, through failures, through moments of doubt, and through triumphs. When Ana felt small, Keanu reminded her she was enough. When Keanu grew tired, Ana reminded him he did not need to carry everything alone. And the world, though it speculated endlessly, never truly understood what they shared, because what they shared could not be reduced to gossip or rumor. It was something deeper, something real, something rare. Their story was not about love in the way people expected. It was about something even stronger. An unshakable respect, a friendship that redefined what it meant to stand beside someone, not for the world, not for the cameras, but for each other.